Hello and welcome to Indian Standard Time. I'm Siddharth Varadarajan, and I should say at the outset that this is a very special episode of Indian Standard Time because for the first time we are interviewing a sports or a sporting personality, and not just an ordinary sporting personality, but Iran's first and most prominent racing car driver, Laleh Seddigh. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Rajya Sabha TV.
Thank you so much for inviting me to your show.
It's a great pleasure. This show normally features politicians and policymakers and bureaucrats and academics and scholars. This is the first time we're going in the direction of sports.
Perfect.
But I think given your own life and your experience and the fact that you've accomplished what you have in Iran, I think this is something which will be of great interest for viewers in India.
Oh, thanks very much.
Is this your first visit to the country?
Yeah, it's my first time, so it's very interesting for me to spend some time and visit your city, your town. It's quite interesting, people everywhere.
Right. Well, India and Iran, as you know, have great historical, cultural links, and I'm sure wherever you go, you'll be very warmly welcomed. Tell us something about your very unusual choice of career. It's unusual, I would say, in any country in the world, but in Iran too, obviously. How did you enter this world of racing car driving?
I started driving when I was about 13, 14 years old, and I found it very interesting.
Wait a minute. How could you have started driving at the age of 13 or 14? Surely you have to be at least 16 to get a license.
Right. No, 18.
Okay, so you drove illegally before that.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't officially driving a car. Yeah. I used to learn how to drive from my dad's side when I was teenager, out of town. So it was very interesting for me how to drive, and I was trying to copy from my dad's techniques, how he drives the car, how he controls.
But he wasn't a racing car driver at all, right?
No.
He was just a regular guy.
Yeah, academic guy,
okay.
I can say, yeah. And so I was the first child of the family, and I was very interested to learn how to drive, especially how to drive fast. Yeah, I used to get into the male hobbies and plays, you know.
Now you live in Tehran, and I presume that you grew up in Tehran too.
That's right.
I've been to Tehran a few times. It's not a city you can drive very fast in. You know, the traffic can be pretty heavy, pretty intense. So you would go out into the mountain outside, or where would you?
It was out of Tehran. It was like a garden side, and he tried to teach me how to drive. And then sometimes I took the car without letting them know with my classmates in high school, and that was a good practice for me, especially in Tehran roads. And that was a good
And you would drive fast over
me.
there.
Yeah, I used to, each time when I was practicing, the other time I drove faster and faster. So that was a good experience for me, especially in Tehran. And when I became to the legal old age, then I got my license, and I was the very good driver at the beginning of my official driving allowance.
Right.
Yeah.
So you took up, as soon as you achieved legal age, you started driving professionally, or did you study something else first? How did you decide that this was a profession you wanted to get into?
My professional career has been a start when I get into the university. And I remember that time there was a classmate of mine who was very fast, and we had a good challenge in Tehran when we were back to our home from the university, and he told me that you have to get into the competition. So that was a start of my career.
What were you studying at university? What was your subject?
I have a doctorate degree in production, industrial production.
So on the engineering side, essentially?
Yeah,
wow.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And so About second year of the university, I went to the organization. There wasn't a federation at that time for the motorsport. It was like a committee or something. Very low population, young population were interested in motorsport, and there was sometime very amateur racing and competition.
But going back for many years, or was it quite recent?
No, at these days it's absolutely professional in Iran because.
No, but when did motorsport start in Iran? Was it many years ago, pre-revolutionary times?
Before revolution,
right.
But it's just a few years that it gets to the professional side of the motorsport. Yeah. So that was a start point of mine in a professional career of motorsport, and. At that time, when I get into the committee and asked them to participate in male competition, they told me that you are not allowed to do so.
So you turn up before the federation and you say, enroll me, I want to race, and they said you can't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What reasons did they give?
Because they told me that it's the first time that a female driver asked us to compete against male, and society maybe won't accept this. And from my father's side, we went to one of the Ayatollah's office and asked them to give us a fatwa, which says that there is no limitation for any female driver to compete against male. So that was a start point of the professional.
Right. So you had full backing of your family, actually. That's your father is the one who.
Yeah,
in a way encouraged you to do this.
I owe him a lot.
Right. Yeah. So when you presented the fatwa of the Ayatollah to the federation, then everything was fine? They said, yes, you can? Or was there still some resistance?
There wasn't nothing to do more with me with that fatwa. But other competitors couldn't accept a female driver against them.
They felt threatened, or what was it? What was the logic?
I think the tradition couldn't accept that at that moment. But after getting closer and closer to them and practicing with them, sometimes I created a friendly atmosphere with them.
Did you have to deliberately lose a few times? Did you find that you had to lose a few times in order to win their confidence?
I was absolutely sure that at the first race I have to win, and I won.
Okay.
Because I had lots of practice. So that was a good start for me.
Right. Yeah. But you weren't afraid that if you beat them in the first race, this may make them more resentful?
When I won them, it was a very big encouraging for me. And maybe that was the serious reason for me to continue more and more.
But there was also a race where you were stopped at the last minute from taking part, right? What was that all about?
In race there is the different categories.
Okay.
I start from the beginning category, which was 1,400 cc of the engine capacity, and I followed up and get into the upper category. Finally, the last category, the advanced one, is the overall class. It's the fastest category in other classes. So they told me that you shouldn't participate in this class. I know the real reason was because they were afraid if I won. What happened if I won? So they told me that you shouldn't participate, and the president of the federation said that the other competitors signed a letter to us, send it to us, and ask us to not allow you to compete.
Amazing.
Yeah, but after few races, I joined to that race. I solved that problem with a good relationship with people.
So you chose not to fight directly on that issue, but just to keep trying to convince them?
It depends on the issue. Sometimes you need to fight, sometimes you need to negotiate. Yeah.
And so when you finally took part in a race in that category, what was the result?
I became second.
Excellent.
With a very slow car, but
Right.
I owe to my technique
Right.
and experience, and I had a very good expert coach at that time.
Now we know that Iranians are crazy about soccer, but how popular a sport is motor racing? Is there a fan following? Do you get large number of spectators for this?
I can say at this time it's maybe second or third most
Really?
attractive sport in Iran. Yeah, because it gets bigger and bigger, and different type of drivers join to the Motorsport Federation.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, motorsport is a kind of in India, Formula One and all these things are really quite in their infancy. There's a push to make it more visible, but obviously in Iran it's been around for longer. How badly was the motorsport, industry, as it were, or how badly were you affected by the years of sanctions that Iran has been subjected to because of the nuclear issue, or even from before?
Right. The only effect which I felt is about the technical products which we needed to assemble on the car and use it as a technical parts in our rally or race car. What I mean is we had a lots of problem to import them, and especially there was a big problem about the price, which was negotiable, of course, but the exchange rate, the difference of exchange rate is a quite big gap. So we need to get a sponsor to afford that. And so that was the only effect which I felt about the motorsport and the sanction on
Right.
the motorsport. Yeah.
Now seeing your performance and your track record, have other women come forward to become motor racers? Do you see some of that effect happening in Iran?
It's the third year which I'm training and coaching of the female parts in our federation, which I trained more than 80 female driver.
80?
Yes.
Wow.
But unfortunately, because of the economical problem and some other problems which females are confronting with them in my country, there is only 3 or 4 of them who are participating in different categories.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I suppose the number of women who came forward for training gives one indication of the interest that exists.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So if the conditions were to change, actually, you'd have large number of women who would be taking part.
Yeah, of course. I think maybe the most important issue, the main problem is the economical issue, because they cannot afford the cost for the motorsport. And as you know, the motorsport is one of the most expensive sports around the world.
Are there enough business houses that are backing teams? I mean, how does the sponsorship work in Iran? Is it a prestige? Do companies regard it as a prestigious thing to back a motor team, a motor car team?
Actually, during a decade, there was a couple of few sponsors who were sponsoring some drivers and navigators in rally and race. But back to the sanction and economical problem, some of them gone, and there is like 2-3 main sponsor who are supporting the motorsport right now.
Right.
And the only team which participate to the Middle East Rally Championship, which has take place this summer in Shiraz in Iran, it was a Mitsubishi with 2 cars, and other drivers has paid by themselves, and the cars was not really professional cars.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I know that you've raced in other parts of the world, not just in Iran. You've raced in Bahrain, in the US, in Armenia. How does tell us something about the experience as a woman driver in some of these other places? How different or similar was it to the atmosphere that you encountered in Iran?
Before getting to the abroad competition, I was wondering maybe it would be more comfortable and usual to compete against male driver. But when I get into the competition outside, I found out everywhere it's not usual and normal to be a female race car driver. Yeah, and it's absolutely the same, I can say.
The attitudes,
Yeah.
the official attitudes,
Yeah.
or the attitudes of other drivers is exactly the same.
Yeah, it's exactly the
Yeah.
same. And male drivers would love to be winner
Right.
everywhere. So it's same.
And did you have to convince some of these other federations, or were they used to having the idea of a woman driver, say in Bahrain, for example?
In Bahrain, I was the only female driver as well.
And were you the first to ever compete?
I am the only Muslim female driver
Okay.
who is driving at this professional level in the world.
Right.
But when I went to the United States, there were like few female, like 3 professional driver, like Danica Patrick and some other female drivers. But I think the situation of this sport is not very interesting for female drivers because it's very challengeable. It's very tough for females. And if
why is it tougher for females than for males?
Because it affects to all parts of your life,
Okay.
especially mentally. And if I get back to the beginning of the story of my career,
Yeah.
I may not choose this sport.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a strong statement to make. If you lived your life again, you wouldn't do this?
No, I don't think so. In this way, I don't think so.
Why? Because it's too much of tension or not enough remuneration? or-
Lots of problems, crashes and lots of problems with preparing the car, a very tough situation during the competition.
Right.
And, competitors sometimes they won't compete you, they want to beat you,
Right.
which is not right, and it makes you sad.
But I suspect many male drivers also, when they look back on their career, would say that this is not something I want to do again.
Yeah.
I suspect. But you mentioned crashes. You've experienced crashes in some of your races,
Sadly, yes.
and terrible traumatic ones, or
I had broken my neck, both legs, and my back, and I was in bed for more than a month. It was a sad story for me because I was very active. I couldn't stay in a bed for a long time.
This happened in Iran or outside?
Yeah, in Iran. Yeah. Somebody has cut on my brake system, and that was a bad.
Oh, really?
crash.
So there was sabotage.
Yes,
Did they ever find out who did it? How did it happen?
we did, but you cannot do anything with them. They're coming and asking you to bless them. You have to bless them, otherwise you have to stop your career. Yes.
And is this quite common? This kind of thing, sabotaging a car,
No, it's not common.
right?
Yeah, but it happens sometimes. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's something.
Yeah.
The wider question of your career, and it of course raises issues about the limits to women's freedom and women's rights in Iran. You have chosen to make space for yourself in what is considered a man's world, not just in Iran but throughout the world. Tell us something about the general outlook on women's rights in Iran. I've been there a few times. I've traveled around other countries in the Middle East, and Iranian women are much more active in public life than women in other, in of course Saudi Arabia, but Kuwait, Iraq, and so on. So, what's your sense of the challenges that Iranian women face today in your society?
I think society accepts female activities more than before because female themselves want to be active more than before. and they came out from the home. They left home and babysitting and cooking and the traditional way of life for the female, and they prefer to be more active in universities, in different fields, in sports, in science, different activities. And so even like as I'm giving you example, about more than 64% of the students in the university are females. So I think the future of Iran...
And they're quite active in the sciences, engineering, all the subjects actually.
Yeah, all the subjects. Yeah. And even in government, you can see as an administrative of different issues, there is some female who are really active and well known and highlighted. And so this movement will continue. And I think the future of the Iran has been affected by the female activity a lot. And so they believe their self-confidence right now, and they want to be better and better.
Right. Yeah. And whatever restrictions they face on different activities, they obviously want to fight against that.
Problems are everywhere. You confront a problem anywhere, I mean. I was speaking with some friends who came from Europe. They were saying that the female here are more, deactive than before, because they need hope. They need to have plan and perspective. Everywhere you need to have a plan and perspective and moving forward to that, to achieve it. So I think it's going to be better and better for the female in Iran during a few years.
Right. Yeah. We're coming to the end of the interview, but I wanted to ask you, Laleh, today in Iran, I sense that there is greater optimism about the future. Mm-hmm. One of the big problems which Iran was confronting, which was the isolation imposed on it by US-led sanctions, there now seems to be a process by which that entire system will end. There's a dialogue between your government and the West and the United States. How optimistic are you that Iran will soon get to play the kind of role that its people who are amazingly talented, want that country to play in the international arena?
Right. I'm absolutely positive about it. It needs time, I think, because our governors are very clever. They are very clear about different issues, and they are very positive to have a good communication, international communication, and we are very open to the world to have a good relationship with our neighbors or far neighbors like United States or Europe or other countries. And hopefully in a very short time we'll have a very strong relationship with other countries.
Right. On that note, Laleh Seddigh, thank you very much for joining us on Rajya Sabha TV.
Anytime. Thank you very much.
That wraps up this episode of IST. Do join me again next week with another guest. Thank you for watching.